Hey, James at Barber Creek Long Range Shooting School. Today I'm going to go over step by step getting your gun profile ready for long range shooting. First of all, open Eagle Ballistics, go into the folder in the upper left, and let's create a new gun. Alright, this is going to default to unnamed 308. Hit the settings. Let's name this test for film. Okay. The next thing we're going to do is we know this is a right-hand twist barrel, so we're going to click on 8. Since this is a 6.5 Creedmoor, it's an 8 twist. Hit set. This scope tracks, let's see, 0.9964. So scope correction factor, 0.9964. Hit set. Really important that one of the first things you do before you even start this process is find out at what percentage your scope tracks. I did a video on doing a tall target test. All right, we're gonna measure center of the firing pin hole on the bolt. And I can see where mine is, and with the bolt open, it's right at the recoil lug. So I'm gonna do is we're gonna put this back in, and I'm gonna get center of the erector tube, or as best I can, of where the crosshairs are. This is a first focal plane track scope, so I know that the actual crosshairs are right here. Second focal plane is going to be towards the back. I'm going to go to the scope height tool, click on ruler, drag the top line to as best I can center of the scope, and drag it down to the firing pin hole. So instead of doing all the math trying to figure out center of the scope, center of the barrel, just realize that where the firing pin hole in your bolt is pretty much center of the barrel. So let's go ahead and bring that forward and a little bit lower. All right, oops. So we're right at about 2.16 on scope heights. Hit set, we're now done. All right, next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go to the bullet library, select the bullet you're shooting. This is a Hornady bullet, not the ammunition, the bullet you're shooting. Because some companies use different bullets. Just because it's a federal ammunition doesn't mean it's a federal bullet, which it isn't. This is a .264 caliber. We're shooting the factory Hornady 140 ELD match. Hit select, it's gonna drop in a nominal ballistic coefficient. So at this point, what we need to do is go ahead and shoot it through chronograph and find out what our velocities are. I have one right here. At the same time, I'm gonna check my zero. So stand by real quick. Check your level even when you're checking your zero. Both eyes open, zero looks good. Okay. Right in the same bullet hole, let me get another one. Okay. You want to do a minimum of 3 to 5 shots for velocities. Now we're going to continue to get our velocities over the whole process, but this is just an initial velocity. All right, so they're all touching the same bullet hole. So we have an average velocity of, that was backwards, 2734.8. I'm going to go in Eagle Ballistics and type in 2734.8, hit set. We now have a zero. We now have the chronograph velocity. I'm going to turn on zero scope angle. It was 100 yard zero. I'm going to go straight to my HUD, and I'm just going to run it out to 1,000 yards. So give me 1 second. Actually, it's 1,002. I'm going to grab the compass direction, aim it at the target so it gets the inclination and the compass azimuth. There we go. Hit set. And this is on mil. Let me go back. I'm going to change this to MOA, by the way. I guess I should have caught that. There we go. It says 29.10 at this temperature. So we'll go 29 minutes. Putting the chronograph back up. Now what I like to do is I need to do my initial truing as far as I can, but make sure I'm 15% in front of transonic, which we are at this point at 1,000 yards. All right. Let me check wind. Wind is right to left at hardly anything. So let me go in my Mirage real quick, click on 60. All right, it's telling us to push right half a minute. All right, stand by. Going right out to 1,000, clay pigeon in the dirt. Pushing right half, level looks good. Missed it by about a ½ inch. Go and get it back on. Double check it. Velocity went to 27.45, by the way. That's probably why we are a ½ inch high. All right, wind is same, pushing right half. And perfect. All right, and 2734.8, exact velocity. We have now trued our ballistic coefficient. So bottom line, let's go ahead and get in here. And as you can see on the HUD, it says 28.75. What happened was the temperature finally caught up to the app because we're in this metal roof. So let me go back in here and true the BC. Ballistic coefficient, click on the circle. It says that we're really at 29 even. Hit set. Our BC is 0.2991. Hit set ballistic coefficient. Well, now perfect. All right. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to come closer. All right. So let's try 302 yards. And hit set. It says dial 3.3 or 3 1/4. So we'll go 3 1/4. Let me drop the bipod. What I always want to do is get my initial truing on my BC at distance, and then I want to shoot it up close to make sure everything's tracking. And you can see how fast this process is. All right, going to 300 yards, and it says push right 1/4 minute. Perfect, exactly where I was aiming, on the right edge of the dot. So that's it. And velocity is 2737, so basically a 1 mile an hour difference was no big deal. Bottom line is we very quickly checked our zero, got real velocities, ran it straight out to 1,000. We did all of our measurements. We did our scope height. We did all of our measurements like we're supposed to. We already know what the scope tracks. I actually write them on the scope. You can see that number there, 0.996. All right. And then we ran it out to 1,000, 15% in front of transonic. Got a perfect zero, hit the clay, and then ran it up close and checked it. So now we know everything's tracking and everything's easy. Make sure you're putting in wind speed and direction, not only for your wind holds, but aerodynamic jump at the same time. All right, that's it, step by step. First thing again, get your scope correction factor. Check your zero. At the same time you're getting your zero, get your velocity. Minimum 3 to 5 shots. I really like at least 5 shots, but leave the chronograph running. Get your scope height. Center of the firing pin hole to center of the erector tube or center of the scope. All right. Get that data in there. Drop in a nominal ballistic coefficient. If you're using Eagle Ballistics, I've got some decent ones in here from the bullet manufacturers. It's a starting point. Run it out as far as you can. Make sure you're at least 15% in front of transonic. Don't go any closer or further than that. All right. In other words, I don't want to be truing us at 1,400 yards because we're in transonic. You will then match your turret, what it's dialed at, to hit the target you're aiming at, to the app. In other words, you go to the app, click on the ballistic coefficient truing button, tell it yes, I'm at 1,000 yards and it really took me 29 minutes. It will back into the algorithm and it will readjust your ballistic coefficient, and then check it up close and you are done. It's that simple. All right, truing BCs is fast, efficient, and honestly, it's the best way to do it. All right, hopefully this made sense. Have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.